Yep. Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Ethereum Engineering Group Meetup. I'm Peter Robinson, and today we've got Lecky here who's going to tell us all about Eth2 staking. So before you jump in and start presenting, could you please introduce?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Peter. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet everyone here. My name is Lecky Lau. I'm currently, I have been doing software engineer for more than 10 years. Has been worked for traditional software company, top 500 like IBM, Telstra, Fujitsu, and also being a serial entrepreneur since 2016. Joined the DeFi 2016 and has been more hands-on smart contract development for the last 2 years. Has been worked for InstaDev, DHedge, and Synthetics. So recently just left Synthetics to work on my own project. And it's about the Ethereum staking service. So would like to share more about that area. Will be more high level on the talk so that hopefully everyone can understand. Yeah.
That sounds really great. And yeah, I know I'm looking forward to it. So please present your slide.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about staking as a service, short for SaaS, and also touch a bit about the merge, which has been talking about for years and finally is more likely to coming middle of the year. So we'll talk about some background on the Eth1 that they also been naming to they renamed on the Eth2. So Eth1 is still the same. Eth1 is proof of work consensus. And then the problem is it's a slow speed, throughput and transaction per second that is 12 seconds. And then energy inefficiency is it causes like loss of electricity energy. And then it's difficult to contribute, upgrade, and maintain. And then also highly centralized hash power. As on the right-hand side, like it's majority on Spark Pool and Ethermine. And then when the miner, like I also have a mining rig in my garage. So in order to have more reward, like I just simply choose the big one like Ethermine, as that way I can get more reward as they would basically in a big pool, so that they once they got the block, they will split the reward to everyone. And then Eth2 has Phase 0 launched December 2020, so it has been running for more than a year. So currently it's become a POS, the consensus layer, that need to stay 32 Ether for a validator. Last year, or actually 2020, that it was like $400, but now it dropped a bit to 2,000, but peak time was 4,000, which would cost a lot to spin up one validator. So there's a bit of a overhead. And then on the other side is more technical overhead to set it up, as need to run the consensus layer client, and after merge there will be also execution client. And in comparison, for the POW, you just buy the graphic card or buy the mining rig and plug in the power, and then it connect the wallet and can start mining. Yeah, the third one is once the Ether got deposited is hard to withdraw or being liquid. But that's a general pain point or problem for all the POS network. That's why the liquid staking is a solution for general solution for all the POS chain. And then low issuance. Low issuance is the current problem. As yeah, we'll talk about more detail later. On the right-hand side, we can see the majority is unknown, which is this is a pie chart grouped by deposit address when people deposit. So unknown basically the one that their deposit address not being recognized. And then you can see the other one will be exchange. So exchange still a majority. And then there's 30% others. There's state us and statefish. There's also like some staking service solution. And then Lido is about 10%. That's the largest liquid staking that has the highest TVL, like more than 3 billion in the liquid stake industry. And then underneath the Lido, there are just some like providers that's selected by Lido, like partnership. So Lido's validator is like a selected nodes that they choose. Yeah. So this is Ethereum roadmap published by Vitalik like a few weeks ago. So the left-hand side is just capturing the top, the merge part from the right-hand side. And how to read this roadmap is basically everything in parallel. And then the green part means how far it has complete. So currently we just, today we just focus on the first one, the merge. And then as you can see, the testnet is like halfway. And then, so it's already tested that the merge is working on the testnet. So they just need more tests and then they can deploy. And you can see the distributed validator demo is done. That's the one that with the merge, and then they will have the deployment. And then after merge, there's a post merge, which is so there it will enable withdraw. Okay, so Eth2 ultrasound money, that's like a meme word that I think created by Justin Drake, but not sure. This is more I heard from his talk with from the bank list. If you want learn more detail, you can watch the bank list show with the talk with Justin Drake. So the ultrasound money, for my understanding, is what he talked about is like there's a song of the money. Like a goal is like when you hit it with another goal, you have like a clear song. And then when you hit a coin with another coin, you have a song of a coin. And then they're talking about what would be the song for Ethereum. And then, but basically what they mean ultrasound money is when the burning rate is higher than the issuance rate, so that it will become deflation, and that's when ultrasound money. Let me move a bit. Okay, so this is a chart I get from the watch, the Burn Watcher. As you can see, So currently, it has burned 1 million. Reward is 2.2 million EVA. Net issuance is 685,000. So we want to talk about the net production is 70%. So when the 70% become 100%, so that's where burn rate over issuance rate, and that's become ultrasound money. At the top, it just talk about on Ethereum 1. So currently on Ethereum 1, the issuance is 4.5% issuance rate with 2 ETH per block and an additional 1.75 ETH per uncle block. And then on the bottom right, we have the Eth2 issuance rate. So currently is a maximum is we have 9 million 9 million EVA stated out of 119 million EVA circulating. So there's around 7.85% has been stated. So the maximum issuance rate is 0.54%. So as you can see, in comparison, so the actual one I will have a slide after. It's currently is like 0.4. So if you compare 4.5 reduction after the merge reduction to like 0.4 to 5, that means that more than 10% issuance rate reduction. So that will most likely the net production will become 100%. So that most likely will become ultrasound money after the merge. Yeah, this is a historical supply and issuance rate. So back to 2016, we have like 14% issuance rate, and then it keep dropping, and then the supply keep growing. So currently the supply is 119 million EVA. And then it can see like the percentage, like currently is 8.9 million stated. And then it's like 4.5%. And then after the merge, it will drop to 0.4, 0.5. So as you can see, that's a huge reduction for the issuance. It may be a problem with low issuance, but as long as it's like more decentralized, it should be fine. Okay, this network dashboard I grabbed it from Opotech. This is built by Opotech technology. As you can see on the top right, the network issuance is 0.39%. So this data is, they have a spreadsheet, and then it get it when real data when you refresh. So this is like 1 week ago that like the total validator, and then they calculated everything like a real-time data, and then it gets the network issuance to 0.39%. And this is the also from the calculator that with the stating EVA, the more EVA stated on Eth2, it's actually higher network issuance rate. But as you can see, it grows like really slow, like 0.39, 0.4, and 0.5. So as you can see, it will still be more than 10 times reduction on the issuance rate after merge. And this is a calculator on the reward side. So currently Eth2 will have two reward. One is the current consensus layer reward is at 5% at the moment. And the more Ether got stated, the lower reward it will get. So it can drop to 3% or 2% when staking rate more than 50%. Currently with staking rate is at 7.85. And on the right-hand side, you can see that on the top right, that the staking reward was 5.27%. And then there's a fee reward 8.21%. So that's the MEV fee that would comes in after merge. That basically the transaction fee that can get collected after merge. And that's from their calculator is 8.21%. So that comes in, total reward will be 13%. And then they minus like some cost. So it become a 12%. So 12% POS reward with Ethereum POS staking, which is quite low risk, but relatively high return. Yeah. So these are some of the current Eth2 staking service solutions. Like, so the Ko-Fi from the consensus is Validator as a service on the API solution. So basically you can see it's like one is obviously the exchange that they just stay and then they do everything, but it's like a highly centralized. And then the other solution is like self-running Validator, which is required you have some technology to run the client. And there's also like pre-configured Validator nodes that they configure that you can just buy and run. But you still need some knowledge to maintain it. As one will be you need to upgrade, like there's a patches, there's a bugs, and there's a version upgrade that you need to run the upgrade. Also like just manage the storage as the storage will keep growing. Currently is the POS, on the POS side is not much, but there's a saying when post-merge, you need to run the execution client. And that's where the gap come in, like you need to run the gap, and then that would take like 2 TB on the storage side. Yeah, Validator as a service is more like an enterprise solution as a semi-custodial. Yeah, we'll talk about more on the staking pools, as that's the one I've been working on. So this is another service comparison that, yeah, there's so currently mostly custodial and semi-custodial. Even you go through the pools, it's still custodial, as both we'll talk more just in comparison of a Lido and Rocket pool, as that's the one that I have researched the most. That they were using a deposit pool. So the custodial way is when you put in the Ether, it's all collected in the deposit pool, and then you spin up the validator afterward in batching, and then for Lido they just batching 32 Ether getting from the deposit pool, and then for Rocket pool has similar, but they take 16 from one side for the validator side and 16 from the public micro pool side. we can talk more later as well. Yeah, we'll talk about more on the staking pool run. Yeah, so mainly just this is a Lido validator on the Beacon chain. So you can view this as a public information in the Explorer, on the Beacon chain Explorer. So as you can see, to spin up validator, you need 32 Ether. And then on the Lido pool, it has the deposit side, it just have 32 Ether. From address, it's just Lido 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically, they just batching to spin up validator and getting the 32 Ether from the deposit pool. And then this is example for Rocket Pool. So Rocket Pool has been developing for years, but they recently launched to mainnet 2 months ago. And their success is by reducing the overhead from 32 Ether to 16. But the from address is the same because they are still doing a deposit pool that still batching the validator afterward. But they have successfully getting more than 100,000 Ether in like 1 month, and also getting more than 10% validator nodes across the network with this success with half a reduction. So next one is the one I work for. Yeah, currently I work for the Swell network, the side project I'm working for, but now it's a full-time I work for. So this we're using it's atomic transaction. That's why the benefit is that's how you can see all 32 Ether, like where's it come from, all on-chain data. That you can see the from address is from different user. So all the user is a direct depositor. And then on the left-hand side, you will see all the address would be tagged by Etherscan as a Eth2 depositor. And that's the main differentiator between a self-running validator as a direct depositor against you running through a service provider. As a service provider, usually going through a deposit pool so that the direct depositor is the service provider. But so for us, you know that where your money coming from and into which validator. So you can watch the validator performance, and everything is on-chain, transparency, decentralized, and non-custodial. Yeah, next we'll talk about a little bit about SSV. So the SSV secret share validator was designed by Ethereum Foundation. And then there's 2 companies working on it. One is BlockSap, one is Opotech. And then SSV, this is a testnet. So it's a side chain. So what's SSV? SSV is a side chain sharing the validator private key by 4 parties. So on the left-hand side, you will see this validator is running across 4 operators by sharing their validator private key. So on the right-hand side, you will see even one operator go down, as long as other frees up, you can still get attested. So it's a protection for slashing by sharing the validator private key. So that way, we can enable third-party validator to be still collecting the 32 Ether on the micro pool and still putting like 1 Ether, like lower the overhead from 16 to 1. So basically, why we choose 16 Ether is because the maximum slashing will be down to 16. And if if your balance will not lower than 16, it will just exit. As you can see, there's a gray exited state. So if you lower, if you have a slashing penalty, if your balance can keep reducing, and then once it hits 16, it will force it to exit. So that's why Rocket Pool has choose to 16. But with the SSV protection sidechain that we're planning to integrate, we can lower the overhead to 1 EVA because of the sharing the validator private key that can still ensure they are in good health. Yeah, so that's just some high level, and there's our side and interest. You can talk and join the Discord and the Twitter. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go through the questions first. So maybe we'll take them in order that they were put into the chat. And so the first one that I had was, so you said that the current return rate is going to be 5% or something. And so what happens if, say, deposit interest rates in banks go to 10% or more than 5%, and so people aren't incentivized to stake money in Ethereum?
That's a good question, but the bank is centralized. It may have a bank run, maybe potentially. I'm not sure. But you need to. Yeah, so bank run will be one potential. Another thing is it's a centralized as there can be recall, like the transaction can be recall, and the transaction is not fully transparency, or your account can be blocked. Like if some like
could the
money.
Yeah, could the Ethereum community like say, hey, we need to do a hard fork so people are incentivized to say increase the return to match what people could get outside? Is that going to be possible, do you think, or is that going to be really hard?
I don't think so. The reward will keep reducing. The reward is to encourage more decentralized with more operating nodes, and the more stated EVA, the more nodes, the less reward, which is makes sense. And the way hard fork is only like there was a discussion on hard fork last year that the miner disagree on the transition, on the POW transition to POS, but the Ethereum say we'll just hard fork it and then people will follow us. So but the way they see hard fork is not about interest. It will be more like fixing bugs or have a one consensus or something more technical, more than just interest rate. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the next question was put in by Sandra. So Sandra, do you want to talk about MEV?
Yeah, so it's just that, Lecky, I thought you mentioned something about MEV payments at the time of the merge, and I didn't quite understand the context or the relevance of that statement. Can you just expand a bit on that?
Yeah, the simple way to understand is just transaction fees. So currently the transactions still happening on Eth1 on the POW execution layer. So that's why the current Eth2 consensus layer only 5% return. But after merge, so what's merged is basically the execution layer to transition from POW to POS. So that means the execution client will run on Eth2. So that means the MEV, basically the transaction fees will be collected on the Eth2 as well. So that is it's a variable way return, but according to Opal calculation is around 8% at the moment. So that's the collecting, like a minor fee that in a way, yeah.
Okay, so MEV, that's the maximum
A minor
value.
extracted value, minor extracted value. So that's the value that the miner get. So that's getting from the transaction fee that the user pay. So when you submit a transaction, you need to pay the gas for the transaction. So that collected to the miner. But of course, there's a burning rate. It's really high. Like currently, the burning rate is like 80% burning rate. But there's still some tips for the miner to collect. Yeah.
So and the other question, it was not really a question I had, it was more a comment. It's just that apparently SSV is better known. Lately, they decided to call it distributed
Yes.
validator technology, just to not be confused with the SSV DAO. Yeah, I mean, my confusion with MEV is that, as I understood it, MEV is all about sort of front running, back running, and sandwiching. You know, that whole feature there. But I see the way you position it. It's talking about the payment of you know.
Yes. That's also terminology using there. Yeah, the minor extracted value is using for both cases. You're right. It's using for both, also sandwich, and also it's basically everything the miner can get the return from. So that's like a term in general for like what the miner can
manipulating transaction.
Ordering and
so manipulating the transactions in maybe to try and get more value out of them. Yeah. All right, so those were the questions in chat, but I suspect there may be other questions. Are there other questions? And I'm going to ask Richard, because Richard McKeon's on, and I know he was going to run a Eth2 staking service at one point. So Richard, did you do that? Are you able to talk?
Hi, Peter and everyone. Yeah, we have a couple of validator nodes running still, and yeah, we've gone through various sort of issues, but yeah, no, it's going quite well. Storage seems to be the main thing we've got to keep on top of, and alerts that, you know, once it runs out of storage. But yeah, look, we're running it internally with a view to looking at maybe from an enterprise point of view doing it. So yeah, very interesting to see all the variations of the pooling and the yeah. So yeah, economics wise it seems to be fine, but we just need to see how it goes and follow it as we go along, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently the platform is to help. We will do a smart contract to help paying on the protocol layer to help the staker to map with the validator. So like the validator, like yourself, can spin up a validator with like 16 or even down to 1 Ether. And then you can have other Ether from the staker on the micropool to spin up. So that validator, so that way can increase to scale up the validator nodes or operators to be more nodes on the network, so that the Eth2 network can be more decentralized. and it's more easier for people to spin up validator. So the goal is minimum 1 EVA, and then 32 people can spin up a validator. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I know we're still monitoring it. It's definitely a technical feat. It's not something that I think I couldn't do it on my own, put it that way. So I do need the guys with the infrastructure and IT knowledge to do it. So yeah.
So and so I guess I know we're going to have a talk soon about the actual merge, but so it feels like, you know, there are going to be multiple terabytes of solid state disks needed to, and probably some extra compute needed to be ready for the merge. I don't know, Lecky, are you running, so you were saying you were getting ready, did you, and adding 2 terabytes worth of storage?
Yeah, that's the plan for post merge. Yes, because that's for running the execution client. So that's the gap. I'm planning to use a Lighthouse on the consensus layer and then gap on the execution layer. Yeah, so it seems to be need to be more stable. You need to have that for the execution layer. So
Yeah. It should be interesting to see. I know within consensus, I saw someone mapping out all the possible combinations of consensus layer and execution layer. And I get the feeling that when we actually get there, there's going to be a much broader set of combinations than there currently is. Like at the moment, I think there's a lot of the market is Geth, and maybe Besu and others have only a smaller percentage of the market. But I think there's a good possibility that, you know, we'll have Lighthouse and Teku and, you know, we're running and others running. And I think that'll be interesting to see.
Yes.
I'm just still on, but Ken or Lockie, happy for you to jump in if you want to add anything to that from the tech side, storage and how we monitor it. But yeah.
Yeah, what I do is I use a cloud service provider, and they provide like a alert and dashboard. That's really helpful. And then I set up alert for the storage to alert me more than 85%. Yeah, so that's how I have been. Yeah, the storage is actually the main issue. I have been keep increasing. I think to start with would be 100 gigabyte to 200 gigabyte for the consensus, and then 2 terabyte for execution layer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Ken. I work with Richard. What we use currently is we're only using like 80 gigabytes worth of storage for we run Teku currently. So it's a substantial jump in resource usage from 80 gigabytes to over 2 terabytes of storage. So so we've been running over a network. So our disks are iSCSI. We don't actually have any local SSDs in our system. So, you know, if it's a 2 terabyte SSD that's local, then I guess rather than network attached, I guess that would there'd be some challenges in our infrastructure or infrastructure upgrades that we'd have to perform in order to support that configuration. So it'd be interesting to know if you can run it over like sort of distributed, like you know, over iSCSI, or like NVMe over iSCSI, or something like that to get it to scale, get the infrastructure to scale, rather than just having like a local machine with all the storage locally.
Yeah, that's probably a good question. I'm not sure. The most common is just SSD, as if you go through the network, it might be yeah, the scaling issue. I'm not sure. Like yes, it might need a really high speed or yeah.
So it'd be
And
interesting to know like what the actual like IOPS were. Say like how many IOPS per second, like read versus write IOPS, and then how many
right.
milliseconds is the like, you know, does it need to respond back to disk? Sort of like more granular specifics around those disk IOs rather than just you need an SSD.
I wonder if that's available for any of the existing ETH1 clients, because the number of IOPS for the execution layer is going to surely be pretty similar to what's currently being used. So I guess if you know what it is for Hyperledger Besu, when it's just running an ETH1 client, then that's probably going to be a good indication. So if you can get that to work over your network, then it's probably going to work for the execution layer.
Yeah, we had a Geth client running because you need one. So we had one running locally and it was working okay. But we sort of ended up migrating to the consensus hosted Geth. So we know that does work locally. It took a while to sync, but it did actually work and it was okay over our network. So yeah.
Sounds good. So look, I think, Meath, I think you've asked a few questions there, and I think that the thing is that it is using the staking as a service thing. I think that's a true answer for that. Yeah, and I'm seeing nodding from Lecky, so that's good. So look, I'm going to quickly share the last two slides, and yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so we've already done questions. So the Ethereum Engineering Group meetup. So this talk is going to be available on YouTube in a few hours, probably. We've got a Slack workspace, so please introduce yourself and have discussions on that Slack workspace. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can join the meetup group by hitting that link. There is example code, which you can also execute and run, see, which is in that repo. Future talks, we have got a bazillion future talks coming up. So Roberto is going to talk about QBFT in 2 weeks' time. And then we've got Niraj talking about NFTs and his analysis of the NFT ecosystem, which is going to be really interesting. It's a TBA, but I'm pretty sure on March 9th, we're going to have Mikhail here talking about the merge and his understanding of what's likely to happen. So he's one of the people helping to drive the actual merge. So he should have a pretty good idea. On the 23rd, we'll be up to our 100th talk. And it's going to be a surprise who we're going to have come along. And so I'm still negotiating that. On April the 6th, we're going to have a talk about real world companies that are doing blockchain stuff. And so we've got one company already signed up. And if you're a company that's doing something in the blockchain space, you know, please send me a message, email, Slack, or whatever, and say, look, I'm interested in, you know, presenting, you know, say 30 seconds about what your company is, and then maybe a minute or two about what your application is, and then talk about your architecture, because, you know, that's what people are interested in this group, you know, like, what are you doing? How does it work? How is it working for you overall? And then there's some more Solidity talks coming up. So that's the general plan. So before we sign off, are there any last questions before we say, see you later?
One question probably I'll ask. Now, when we use a staking service, we basically invest in and we give our money to a service, and they make a mistake and slash happens and we lost the ETH. So we basically I lost the ETH if that happens, or who take the responsibility? Because I have given my money custodian to somebody else to manage.
Yes, that's a good question. So, so on the website, you put in 16 Ether. You also need %. For example, up to like 1.6 Ether value of the IPO token to stay for protection of the slashing. Case is down to split out, as that 16 will be from the validator side, and the other 16 from the micro pool. And then the 1.6 ETH value of the RPL will get sell and as a compensation interest on the other 16 ETH public micro pool user. So that's how protection for slashing works. And then with the SSV is something more protection, so that the validator side could just stay with one Ether and then just buy like 100% of the DAO token value, which is like another ETH value for protection for slashing, but it's much less overhead as well. And then the SSV is still on testnet, but it's saying that, and it is working well, like with on the protection on the slashing. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming along, and thank you, Lecky, for that great talk. And I'll talk with everyone. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks' time. So bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lecky.
Bye.